Okay folks, in this lecture I'm going to quickly show you how to use Excel's status bar. Now this status bar is really handy because it enables you to see really quick information and aid your productivity. Now the status bar sits here at the bottom of the Excel application, and you access it by hovering over it and just right clicking. So this is in terms of customizing the status bar. Now basically what it does is for every tick you've got here for these categories, it will display information relevant to that category. So I'm just going to click here and show you here the options, and then for some of them I'll demonstrate what we mean by when we select it. Okay, so basically this bit here, cell mode, refers to the current cell editing mode when you're typing in a cell. Now there's basically 4 variations of this. When you've just got a cell selected, you get this word displayed in ready mode. When you click into a cell, this changes to enter, and this basically tells you that you're ready to enter into a cell. Now, if you've already got something typed in, for example, hello, and you double click in, this changes to edit because it signifies that you're in edit mode. In other words, you want to edit the cell, what's in it. Finally, the last mode this bit will display is basically called point. Now this will happen in Excel when you type a formula and you wish to reference other cells. So let's say I've got 45 here and 45 here, and I wish to do the sum of those two numbers. If I press equals sum, open bracket, and then if I select this cell here, you can see this changes to point. So basically this is indicating that we're pointing to another cell. There. Okay, so moving on, this option here, flash fill blank cells, basically indicates the number of cells that are left blank after you perform a flash fill operation. Similarly, the next option, which is flash fill chain cells, basically indicates the number of cells that you actually filled in when you did flash fill. This option here, signatures, basically indicates if an active workbook has been digitally signed. The next option, information management policy, indicates any information type policies that have been used to restrict permission to the actual workbook you're opening. Now, this is often used in the corporate sector where you've got workbooks of a corporate nature and they have to be restricted for various reasons of confidentiality. The next option, permissions, basically, again, shows you the permissions that have been given to the actual workbook. Now, again, this is more in a corporate context, and it will basically only show when your document access has been restricted. Now, you might notice also we've got these indicators here off and on, and these basically tell you in a first instance if something is off or on. So in this case, for example, we got caps lock. Now again, this will tell us basically on our keyboard if we got the caps lock button turned on. So this is quite useful if, for example, you've got a keyboard which doesn't have a light to indicate when the caps lock is on. So in this case it's off, but what I'm going to do is turn it on. There. So you see that, folks? Caps lock is showing here. If I right click, you'll see that it's changed to on. Similarly, the same thing exists for numlock and scroll lock and fixed decimal as well. Overtype mode. Now this is quite interesting, folks. Basically, when you edit a cell, if you basically enable overtype mode, this will show you. Now this is quite handy because sometimes you can accidentally enable overtype mode and it doesn't always lead to a good result. Now this option here, end mode, basically indicates that your end key was pressed to activate the end mode. So this is your end key on your keyboard basically. The next option here, now this is for VBA in terms of when you can actually use the macro recorder. You need it sometimes an indicator to tell you that it's recording. So basically the macro recorder is a way that you can use to automate basic tasks in Excel by basically turning it on, recording what you want to do, and then saving it. And it uses a code called VBA, which sits behind Excel and works in tandem with it. So when you do record the screen, sometimes it's good to know as a status or indicator. And that's what this option does here. If you tick it, it will show you when you're actually recording. Okay, now this mode here, selection mode, I personally don't use it, but there is a use for it. And what this means is sometimes in Excel, when you want to select more than one cell, whether it's in a group of cells or whether it's a non-adjacent cell. This will indicate that you're doing it. Now, to activate this, you have to press F8 on a cell. If you want to select adjacent cells, or if you want non-adjacent cells, you press Shift and F8. So just to show you, if I press F8 on my keyboard, you can see this says extend selection. And you can see that if I use my up and down arrows, it's automatically enabling a selection of cells. Now the other way, if I want to add non-adjacent cells, is if I press Shift and F8. And you can see it goes to add or remove selection. So if I click here, you can see that we're getting non-adjacent cells being selected. Now personally folks, I prefer just to do this the other way. In other words, using the control key and just selecting what you want. And for adjacent cells, just using the mouse. But this option exists if you want it. Okay, now, the next one, page number, basically indicates the worksheet page that you're on. These ones here are basically related to mathematical calculations. So if you select a range of cells which have numbers, it will show you the average for that, the count, the numerical count. Now the difference between these two is this one will count text, while this one will just count numbers. The minimum number in the range of numbers you select, the maximum number in the range of numbers you select, and the sum. So this is quite handy when you just need quick calculations. So just to give you an example, if I just type in some more numbers, right. Now if I select all of them and go to here, you can see that Excel quickly shows me the average, 38.6, the count, which is 5, the numerical count, which is 5, the minimum number, which is 23, the maximum number, which is 56, and the sum, which is 193. Now, let's say I add some text in. Hello. Now, if I select all of them, you can see that the numerical count is still 5, but the count, which includes text, goes to 6. So this includes a count of data, which includes text, while this just counts numbers only. Okay, now upload status basically indicates the status of you uploading a workbook to the internet. So again, folks, this is more for corporate use in terms of sometimes you want to publish a workbook to the web. This will show you the upload status of that. Now, the next one, view shortcuts, basically displays these three options here. The normal view, the page layout, and the page break preview. So this is quite handy when you quickly want to switch to a different view. Okay. The zoom slider, similarly, is this bit here. And when you click it, it basically enables you to really quickly increase the zoom level of a worksheet or decrease. And zoom basically displays the zoom level at which you've got your sheet set to. Okay, so that was a real quick one, folks, but it's just to show you the handiness of the status bar. So you can use it to enable you to see quickly where you are when you're typing in Excel. So in this case, I've got this cell selected here. So I've got the ready mode. I've got numlock on and I've got caps lock off. So what I find is basically the most handiest things of this status bar for the everyday user are these options here. So make sure you got them ticked. This option here, page number, all these options here, these three here, and these options here as well. And you can do this one as well if you find it helps. Okay, so that concludes this lecture. Thank you for listening and watching. If there are any questions or queries, please feel free to reach out.